Good morning. Welcome to another live film Rashad YouTube channel for December 11th, 2025. Let's get into the Word of God, the book, Sermon on the Mount book. We in chapter 26, reading about Matthew chapter 5, verse 29 and 30. We're going to talk about sexual sin. What we're talking about tonight, this morning, and get into ultimate NBA history, what if book. I've been in this book for a long period of time. We're talking about the Milwaukee Bucks and their history and the what if. I think this one's about what if Dr. J. Julius Irvin joined the Milwaukee Bucks in 1972. So we're going to get into that. What if? That'll be it for the day. Let's get into it, man. Verse 29, 30 of chapter 5 of Matthew, it says, if your right eye causes you to sin, cause it out and throw it away. It's bad for you to lose one part of your body, and for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It's better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to go into hell. All right, let's get into it. When it comes to the adultery in the heart, Jesus says you ought to avoid the sin by preventing it from emerging. This is done by dealing regularly with ourselves. Metaphorically, Jesus was calling gouging out an eye or cutting off the hand that caused one to sin, just as we should agree with our adversary quickly as opposed to being put into prison. So it's better to pluck out an eye than to be thrown to hell. Jesus refers to the fire of hell as punishment for unbridled anger. So hell. So hell is a punishment for those lusting in the heart. So we are therefore admonished to avoid the punishment for lusting, but mortifying what offends, rather than the whole body being put into hell. So the sunrise overt adultery was punished by death, where inward adultery, lusting, was punished by going to hell. Both murder and adultery were punished in ancient times by death. Jesus focuses on the heart. It says that Gehenna awakes anger and lust. So if plucking out an eye, cutting off a hand, metaphors, what about the reference to hell? Is Jesus speaking clearly about what happens to angry people, lustful people when they die? If so, how can any of us be saved? Furthermore, do we lose our salvation if we have committed adultery in our hearts after being converted? And escaping hell based upon sexual purity. What R.T. Kuhn, who wrote this book, was talking about in his chapters, he wanted to believe in a classical Christian doctrine of hell, meaning that the unsaved will undergo eternal punishment. That he had preached this consistently for over 55 years, including Sunday at Westminster Chapel for 25 years. The New Testament teaches this, as he showed in his book, outside of comfort zone, are now universalists, and I'm not in a highness, annihilationists. I believe and preach often the truth of everlasting hell. But I do not believe Jesus talked about eternal punishment either in Matthew chapter 22, Matthew chapter 5 verse 22, or Matthew chapter 5 verse 29 and 30. Although I admit that the natural reading would suggest this, I believe the reference to hell in these verses are part metaphorical, part eschatological. I believe these passages are fulfilled probably in the here and now, probably at the judgment seat of Christ. In the word, I believe that plucking an eye and cutting off a hand are metaphors that refer to mortification, put to death. So Paul said in Colossians chapter 3, verse 5, that whatever belongs to your earthly nature, sexual immorality, impurity, lust, evil desires, and greed, which is idolatry, because of these, the wrath of God is coming. We will face our failures to mortify the deeds of the body at the judgment seat of Christ. It is noteworthy, too, that Jesus does not propose to institute the ancient penalty of stoning the adulterer to death. Jesus places the whole matter between God and the individual who sins. This is further shown by the way Jesus dealt with the woman and called adultery. He did not suggest that she be stoned, but that she is forgiven, that she be forgiven, and that she repent. In John chapter 8, verse 1 through 11. John's requiring us to take an eternal perspective. Here's what matters most at the end of the day. What happens when you face God after you die? R.T. Kendall even asked one of Billy Graham's daughters what she reckoned was the secret to her father's success. And she did not hesitate to answer. Her dad grew up being motivated by a chorus he sang in Sunday school. With eternity's values in view, let me do each day's work for Jesus with eternity values in view. Is what Jesus is teaching in these lines. He's saying to us, whatever is painful for us to do, whatever we may have to give up in this life, is nothing compared to the way we will feel in the end when we realize we have lost forever what could have been ours. There are profound implications in this verse. For one thing, resurrection of the body is implied. Note the words whole body. Jesus might have merely said their soul, but he mentioned the whole body going to hell. It presupposes resurrection of the body first. John said, I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne of judgment. The books were open. Another book was opened, which is the book of life. The dead was judged according to what they had done as recorded in the books. The sea gave up the dead that were in it, and death and Hades gave up the deed that were in them. And each person was judged according to what he had done. Revelation chapter 20, verse 12 and 13. So before we face the outcome of our faithfulness in plucking our failure to mortify the deeds of the body, we will have been raised from the dead. In other words, the resurrection from the dead comes from the final judgment. So these verses are eschatological. So the whole body means the whole person. You may recall that anger can bring on the fire of hell. And that tongue may corrupt the whole person. So the phrase whole person is the translation of Olam Susama. Exact same words found in Matthew chapter 5, verse 29 and 30, where it is translated whole body. This goes to the symbol that if a whole person could be used in James chapter 3, verse 6. They are equal, if not more, appropriate for Matthew chapter 5, verse 29 and 30. Whereas our bodies will be resurrected in order to stand for the judgment seat of Christ. It will be our whole persons, our motives, hurts, minds, as well as how we discipline our bodies that we be judged. So this verse, therefore, points to the judgment seat of Christ and rewards for what we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that each one may receive what is due him for the things done while in the body, whether we good or bad, the whole person. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 10, so Jesus is not speaking to the issue of saved or lost. Chapter 5, verse 29 and 30. But Matthew, the Sermon on the Mount, is about the kingdom of heaven, the realm of the unbelieving spirit, done such that his followers are already saved, have entered the kingdom of heaven. Yet Jesus speaks, he does, because of the assumption that there is heaven and a hell. The way hell is used here, Matthew chapter 5, verse 29 and 30, is the same as in verse 22, referring to the Christian going to eternal punishment, rather than experiencing a supernatural fire that will be administered at the judgment seat of Christ. It was what Paul means in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 15, being saved by fire. Therefore, Jesus is not saying that a Christian will go to everlasting hell because he has lusted, but he must certainly is saying we will suffer pain at the final judgment if we have not repented in advance of that day. We will not be eternally lost, but we nonetheless will suffer loss, namely the loss of reward or inheritance. We will be saved as one escaping through the flames, as mentioned in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 15. Jesus' mention of the whole body going to hell was only partly reflecting his teaching elsewhere of eternal punishment for the unsaved. The threat of eternal punishment is not the way Jesus wants the believer to see his or her own eternal state if they have trusted him in his righteousness. He's warning his followers, rather, of the grave importance of demonstrating the righteousness that surpassed that of the Pharisees. What happens if we don't? It is serious business not to take his teaching to heart and apply it in our daily lives. So the believer's whole person going to Gehenna means experiencing the fire, which could be the same as being hurt by the second death in Revelation chapter 2, verse 11. That comes from terminal chastening. chastening. It is when all of us will ultimately face the consequence of our disobedience on earth. Eternal punishment is what Jesus is teaching in Matthew chapter 5, verse 29 and 30. We'll be saying we are saved by works and self-denial. And in fact, Paul states we are saved by grace through faith, not works. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8 and 9. Levels of chastening. The Bible teaches that 3 levels of chastening or discipline. God disciplines all his own children. To be without such chastening is to show one is not a true child of God. The word is translated disciplining or chastening comes from a Greek word that means exforce learning. God has a way of teaching us a lesson. The first level of chastening is internal chastening. This planet is the best way to have your problem solved is through reteaching and preaching. When God speaks in a definite, sometimes severe manner, thank God for it. Take his sharp sword sword with a willing heart. Hard, however, painful. Exposition of the word achieve its goal and you're responding to it. If I'm doing my job well, the word will cut, will operate on your heart. May repentance be the outcome. The second level is external chastening. This is plan B. As the first level is secret, inward, going in on your heart and mind. External chastening is not so secret. God may have a deal opening with you. Be the need to be put flat on your back in the hospital. Be financial reversal, be the withholding of vindication. Yes, it could be couldn't caught, found out you have been involved in sexual sin. However painful this may be, thank God for it. It's better than hell or the pain of final judgment. Why should any living man complain when he punished for his sins? Lamentations chapter 3, verse 39 deals with that. Building the superstructure or the foundation. The worst scenario for the Christian is terminal chastening. See, this will happen on the judgment seat of Christ. Jesus is probably speaking of the final judgment in Matthew chapter 5, verse 29 and 30. This will happen when we stand before the judgment seat of Christ. Jesus is probably speaking on the final judgment in Matthew chapter 5, verse 29 and 30 to show what happens to the person who does not build his or her superstructure with gold, silver, precious stones. Instead, erects it with hay, wood, and straw. Why does Jesus bring this in? He wants his teaching to make a difference in our lives now. Fire Gehenna is what will reveal the quality of our superstructure at the judgment seat of Christ. You and I have a choice of materials to be used to build a superstructure of the foundation. Jesus Christ is the foundation. All who are saved on it are saved, but we must be careful how we build. It's only a matter of time before our work will be shown for what it is, whether we gouge our eye, choose to commit adultery in our hearts. So that foundation is superstructure. The superstructure will indicate the kind of lives we led, the truth that was in our hearts. The superstructure will either be up of materials, such as gold, silver, precious stones, which cannot burn, or wood, hay, and straw, which can burn. Superstructure of gold, silver, and precious stones erected by our care to pluck out the eye or cut off the hand. Superstructure will be tested by fire at the judgment seat of Christ. Paul, the fire of Gehenna. That day will bring the superstructure to light, will be revealed with fire, and the fire will test the quality of each man's work. In 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 13, so that one has not resisted temptation by giving in to lust. He or she erects a superstructure of wood, hay, and straw. The fire of Gehenna is what will burn up this kind of superstructure. R.T. Killings mentioned that he couldn't imagine how awful it would be those who lusted and did not repent of it. course, one of the lusts as opposed to mortifying the deeds of the body. It would be horrible. Arthur Campbell was mentioning that he wanted to do business with God now and taking caution. Any external chastening that gets my attention, his attention, he also avoid such external chastening. Now, Jesus' teaching of the whole body, meaning the whole person going to the fire, is a reference to the judgment seat of Christ. It is the final stage of chastening, namely terminal chastening. Jesus wants his words to make a difference in our lives in the here and now. Notice his words better for you. It's better for you and me to go through life with one eye or one foot than to have our unmortified, undisciplined bodies thrown to hell. So it is to our advantage and it is our interest for us to deal with things ruthlessly in our lives now that are not honoring to him. We will have to face the unthinkable consequences of the day of days. We must regard plucking out an eye, cutting off a hand, priority. Make the judgment seat of Christ priority thinking in your life. That's what he was mentioning. And he was mentioning also, speaking first, that the teaching has shaped his thinking as much as anything that he believes. He cannot exaggerate how much he is motivated personally in life by the judgment seat of Christ that is coming. So avoiding temptation. Jesus' advice is summed up in Paul's words. Do not offer the parts of your body to sin as instruments of wickedness, but rather offer yourselves to God as those that have been brought from death to life. Offer the parts of your body to him as instruments of righteousness. And chapter 6 and 13 talks about that. The key here, instrument of lust as the eye for everything in the world, the cravings of sinful man, the lust of his eyes. Most of what he has and does comes not from the Father, but from the world. The eye becomes a vehicle of lust, which, if not dealt with, becomes an obsession. The eye can be an instrument of seduction. When you cause a person to lust after you, the word, the eye is the instrument of which adultery is committed in the heart. The hand is also an instrument of lust. The hand is used to touch, to arouse sexual desire. You could have added foot because your feet take you where you know you should not go. The issue then is the possibilities of lust. Therefore, if your eye, if your hand that caused you to sin must be removed from you, says Jesus. And everyone he acts the same way to all objects. For some, let us say, especially for men, it may be mainly the eye. Man is aroused by sight. Let us say, especially women, it may be through touch. Jesus did not say to tear out your tongue, but he might have. Words can flatter and inflame lust, sometimes more than the eye or hand. Think of lust when you read James chapter 3, verse 5 and 6. The tongue is also a fire, word of evil on the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole person, sets the whole course of his life on fire. It's itself on fire, set on fire by hell. Now, Jesus at the bottom means for us to avoid temptation is mortification, essentially having the power to avoid temptation. The best way to avoid sin is to avoid the temptation. It's not strength to show how close you can get into sin, then to resist it, then resist it. The strength is knowing where the temptation will be found, not go there. Not to go there. So we must remove from our lives those things that tempt us, whether it be people, places, habits, or things, magazines, the internet. It's claimed that pornography is the minister's greatest sin. At a recent church convention, Arctic Center mentioned this chapter, in a major city with all the hotels were emptied of the business people who were usually present and filled with ministers instead. It reported that the pornographic movies were used as much, if not more, than usual. And Paul said for us to make no provision for the flesh in order to fulfill one's lust. Romans chapter 13, verse 14. Billy Sunday once said that the reason so many Christians fall into sin is because they treated temptation like strawberries and cream rather than a rattlesnake. John Stott gives the same advice. Since temptation comes through your eyes, pluck out your eyes. That just means don't look. Behave as if you had actually plucked out your eyes, flung them away, and were not now blind. There could be readers who will almost rather be blind than to have the pain you now feel because you fell morally, but you are the first to say it wasn't worth it. If your hand or foot means temptation will follow, don't go there. Don't visit people or places that will almost or certainly many have to confront temptation. Your strength is not so much resisting temptation as avoiding it. There is mortification, putting temptation to death by avoiding it. People vary in what is attractive to them. What may tempt you might not tempt me. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Will be certain television programs for some, kind of music for another, type of dress for still another person. Know yourself, know your vulnerable area. May mean giving up a relationship, avoiding a certain person. The pain can be very hard indeed, but sanctification can be painful. And the old-fashioned idea of let go and let God doesn't work there here. We are talking about an act of the will. You resist. You have to resist temptation when it shows up. Yes, but also resist going where you know temptation will show up. The pain of resisting sexual temptation can be excruciating. Make no mistake about this. The sexual desire is physical as well as psychological. A person who is lonely is vulnerable. A person unhappily married is vulnerable. No one said it would be easy. Plugging out an eye can be unthinkably painful. This is the way Jesus puts this matter before us. As Michael Eaton puts it, prayer alone is not enough. He said, watch and pray, so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the body is weak. Matthew chapter 26, verse 41. Watch and pray that you do not fall into sin. Note too that Jesus did not say, watch and pray that you do not sin. He said, watch and pray not to fall into temptation. Temptation that you need to be on the lookout for. You watch first. You pray first. If you pray first, you will possibly take anything that comes along as having God's approval. It must be a prior commitment not to enter into temptation, but then you pray. Not pray and watch, but watch and pray. Possibly more than anything else, it is to adventure the day when you will stand before the sovereign judge. Believe me, you will stand before him. Plan for it now. Paul said that if we judge ourselves, we won't come under judgment. He meant that if we deal with the malady that we know there is now, we set God free from having to judge us later. The pain of God's doing it, the whole person being thrown to hell, can be prevented by the pain of our dealing with our temptation now. The judgment seat of Christ can be painful or joyous for us. John talked about having boldness or confidence on that day. 1 John chapter 4, verse 17. One of the most neglected springs of the teaching of Jesus is his emphasis on reward. That is one of the things that propelled Paul. I beat my body and make it my slave, so that after I preach to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. So it's not a sign of spirituality to show contempt for reward. It's a salient New Testament teaching, a potent motive for holy living. I want that prize, Paul mentions. He also causes a crown. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 24, it will come to those who remove from their lives that which is displeasing to God, lest they lose what would matter most on that great day. And so I'm done. Chapter 26, reading from chapter 5, verse 30, and verse 29. Sexual sin. I'm scared. I know to read about marriage and divorce, not married, so it has nothing to do with me. I'm not a married man, so I'm going to move to chapter 28 tomorrow. Read from chapter 5, verse 33 to 37. Now, Jesus did teach about marriage and divorce. I'm not going to get into that because I'm not a married man. So it got nothing to do with me. In chapter 28 tomorrow. All right, so let's get into this book I've been reading for a long period of time. Volume 2 of Ultimate History, NBA History and What If book, Volume 2. This time we're talking about the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks are born and gifted the best player of the 70s. On January 22nd, 1968, the NBA awarded the city of Milwaukee expansion NBA franchise. This wasn't the first time Milwaukee was home to an NBA franchise, as the Hawks organization was based there in 1951 to 1955 before moving to St. Louis. Now, at the Olden fan contest with more than 40,000 entries to determine the new team's nickname, the top choice was the Robins, the Wisconsin state bird. While Robin is a beautiful songbird, it doesn't exactly strike fear in anyone. Therefore, the original ownership group decided to go with the second place entry in the naming contest, the Bucks, which is a state animal of Wisconsin. The Bucks meant for a moniker that was spirited, good jumpers, fast and agile. Their first season wasn't that good. It was 27-55. They were led by an NBA All-Star named John McLaughlin, 25 years old. The Bucks and the Suns will have a coin flip to see who had the number one pick in the draft in 1969. The Lou Alcindor later would become Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Changed his name. A few years later, he changed his name. The Bucks won the coin toss with NBA contender overnight in just their second season. Kareem had his incredible combination of size, talent, discipline, work ethic, intelligence from a very young age to dominate the game of basketball his entire life leading to the NBA. He won 3 Catholic League championships, 2 National High School championships, 71 straight wins. when he was in New York playing for Power Academy, Jack Donahue. Then he went to UCLA, played for John Wooden, won championships there. Scored 56 points in his debut and sophomore season, his very first game. He was 88-2 when he was with the Bruins. 3 seasons. 2 losses was against Houston, against USC, but he won 3 championships. He led the USA to the national championship in all 3 seasons when he was eligible. The only player to ever win National Tournament MVP 3 times. He won the inaugural Naismith National Player of the Year award in 1968-69. So, this is how dominant Kareem was heading to the 1969 season in the NBA. 1970, 1969-70. In 8 seasons of high school and college basketball in Division I, he was 159-4. So he saw an incredible 29-win increase in Kareem's rookie season. He went 56-26. He won NBA Rookie of the Year, third in MVP voting. He finished after 28.8 points, 14.5 rebounds, 4.1 assists. Who knows how many block shots he had? He wasn't tracking until 1973-74. His first playoff series, he averaged 36.2 points a game, 15.8 rebounds a game, and 3.4 assists as the Bucks beat the 76ers 41, 1970 Eastern Division Finals. He had 46 points and 25 rebounds in the clincher in Game 5. Milwaukee. They went up against the Knicks. Knicks won in 5 games. They were matched. But in 71, they won the championship. The addition of Oscar Robertson, who was traded to the Bucks for Flynn, Robinson, Chuck Paul. So Bucks moved to the Western Division for the 1977 season. 3 more expansion teams like the Cavaliers, Portland Trailblazers, and the Buffalo Braves, where they beat the Clippers of Los Angeles. So this team won the championship. No surprise there with Big O and supporting cast that was halfway decent. Kareem won the MVP in second season, 31.7 points a game, 16 rebounds a game. Oscar Robertson was an All-NBA player, an All-Star, average 19.4 points, 8 rebounds. They had the best record, 66-16. They did their thing. It was dominant. They won 12 games, only lost 2 games. They beat the Warriors in the first round. Then they played on the Lakers. Gil Gidrich, West, and Bell were hurt. So the Bucks outscored them about 65 game series, beat them in 5 games. Kareem averaged 24, 25, 17, and 4. Then they swept the 66 minutes. They swept the Bullets of Washington, led by Irvin Rowe, Jack Barron, and Wes Unseld. They won the championship. They won by average of 12.2 points a game. Kareem 7 points, 18.5 a game. 9.5 rebounds, 5 rebounds a game. That was it. They continued the championship contenders, the Bucks, but they failed to win another time with Kareem, unfortunately. In 72, they were like the favorites. Kareem won his second straight league MVP award, averaging 34.8 points, 16.6 rebounds, 4.8 assists per game. The injuries, 18.4 points a game, 7.7 rebounds a game. Robinson, 19.4 points, 7.7 assists, 5 rebounds. 63-19 was that record in the Western Conference. They beat the Warriors in 5 games. They played in the Western Conference Finals against the 72 Lakers, who had won 33 games during the regular season. And Bucks were the same to the end of their historic streak on January 9, 1972, 120-104. But this is the real season they played in the conference finals. Bucks dominated the Lakers in Los Angeles in Game 1, 93-72. Kareem had 33 points and 18 rebounds. The Lakers survived a thriller in Game 2, overcoming Kareem's 40 points. As Jim McMillan, Lakers had 42 points as they won 135-134. Then in Game 3, Lakers won nail-biter 108-105. Despite Kareem's 33 points, 21 rebounds, and 6 assists, Bucks dominated Game 4, winning 114-88. The tied the series up at 2-2. Kareem had 31 points, 18 rebounds, and Dangerous had 24 points, 15 rebounds. The Lakers dominated the Bucks in Game 5 in Los Angeles, winning 115-90 to get 3-2 series lead as Jerry West had 22 points, 7 assists. Wilt had 12 points, 26 rebounds, 6 assists. Green was presented the NBA MVP award for the 1971-72 season before Game 6 in Milwaukee as the Bucks season in hopes of a repeat as champion were on the line. Wilt's Chamberlain's versatility, even near the end of his career, was so much better than everyone else on the court. He was simply sent from the future. He was blocking everything early on, including multiple Kareem shots. When he started getting the hook shot working, though, even Wilt had no chance to block it. Wilt had ditched the grandma underhand free throw style by 1972. He had a shot when he palms the ball with his left hand and then shot his right arm straight out in an awkward fashion to shoot a free throw. Bucks had an 87-75 lead in the fourth quarter and looked poised to send the series to Game 7 in LA. But Jimmy Miller and Gail Gilbert heated up and Lakers tied this game in 97-97 to 8 to go. Wilt defended a Kareem skyhook his shot on the baseline. Lakers then took a 197 lead with 1:20 to go. Chamberlain then picked off an intended entry pass to the post to Kareem. It was fouled and sent to the free throw line in the final minute. He made both to make it 102-97, 57 seconds left. Then Kareem made a 10-foot left-handed shot, make it 102-99. The Lakers held on to win, 104-100 to win the series, 4-2. Who had 20 points, 24 rebounds. West had 25 points, 9 assists, 80 rebounds. Green had 37 points, 25 rebounds in a Game 6 loss. Oscar Robertson had 2 points, 1 for 4 shooting, and only 7 minutes played. Sent by a stomach injury. That was painful. 1971-72 Bucks would go down in history as one of the greatest teams not to win the NBA title. So following season, Bucks won 60 games for the third straight season. They were upset at 73 by the Rick Barry and the Warriors in the first round. Kareem won his third MVP in 1973-74 after 27 points, 14.5 rebounds, 4.8 assists, 2.5 blocks, 59-23 record. They beat the Lakers in 5 games, and the Chicago Bulls. Then they went to the NBA Finals in 1974. This 1974 NBA Finals featured the team's games was winning centers. Dave Cowens, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Celtics were a 56-win team. Boston won game 198-83. Game 2, Milwaukee. They even the series up to 1-1. Then game 3 came. Celtics won 95-83. Game 4, Bucks won 97-89. Then Abdul-Jabbar and Bucks lost 3 games to 2. '96-'87, so it was 3-2. So game 6 would be a classic game. It's a game where in double overtime. He changed 11 times in a 5-minute period. And Kareem hit the game-winning sky hook shot. Make it 102-101. Send the game to Game 7. But in Game 7, Celtics won it in Milwaukee 94-78. So eventually, Abdul-Jabbar would get traded. Get to the details of that. Over to the Lakers. 1975 on June the 16th. Between Bergman, Dave Myers, Elmo Smith, and Brian Winters. So the Bucks will toil in mediocrity for the rest of the decade of the 70s. But the 80s will be different. They'll be a title contender. 1980-81. They had the third best record, 16-22. Marcus Johnson, Sidney Moncrief. But they lost to the 76ers in 81 semifinals. Then, let's see what else. Final season went 55-27. Lost to Sixers again, this time in 6 games. So the Bucks, they was able to get to the finals in 83 and 86, but they just couldn't get over that hump. Lost to Sixers in 83. Had very talented players, See Moncrief, Marcus Johnson, Bob Lanier, guys like that, Paul Pressey. Just can't get over that hump. 86 Celtics. They swept 4 games in 1985, 84. We lose to 84. Celtics. I had Terry Cummings, guys like that, but they just couldn't get. These Cummings just loaded back then. Great teams. So Niners come around. Trade for Ricky Pierce to the Sonics. Dale Ellis. Trade Paul Pressey to the Spurs for Frank Bukowski and signed 35-year-old Adrian Dantley free agency. So you had Danny Shays, Dale Ellis, Alvin Robertson, Jay Humphries, Fred Roberts, Jack Sigma, and Frank Bukowski. They won 48 games. They lost in the first round, though, to 76ers. Baker was on his team, stuff like that. Then the big dog Robinson, Ray Allen. But they had that championship title contender. Now they almost got to the finals in 2001 though. They had Sam Cassell, Glenn Robinson, Ray Allen. 2001, but they lost to Game 7 to 76ers. Sixers won that series. 7 games. Ives had 44 points, 76 rebounds. So it was mediocre after that. They exchanged when he got Giannis Antetokounmpo, man. Once he came there, him and Middleton, Chris Middleton, had a nucleus that would build for a long period of time. They become a contender, the Greek Freak and all that. Obviously, they win the championship. He won the MVP. They beat the Phoenix Suns. They were down 2-0. Came back and won the series in 6 games. With Drew Holiday and those guys. So they won that series in 6. Giannis Antetokounmpo had a legendary game 6, man, for the ages. See, he had 50 points, 14 rebounds, 5 block shots. That's one of the great closeout games ever. I haven't won a championship since, but at least they have a championship on their belt since the days of Kareem. Big O. All right, so let's get into the what if scenario. I'll close out. What if Julius Erving joined the Bucks in 1972? One of the forgotten historical fact that many basketball fans forget was that Julius Erving was actually drafted in the 1972 NBA draft. He was the 12th pick in the 1972 NBA draft. Erving filed for financial hardship in 1971 to his junior year of college at the University of Massachusetts. He was able to be eligible for the 72 draft in the NBA. Even though the NBA didn't allow players to be eligible under a state where 4 years out of high school, he was under contract already with the Virginia Spiders of the American Basketball Association on a 7-year, $500,000 deal. Erving found out that the agent who convinced Erving to sign up the low market deal with the Squires actually worked for the Squires, filed a lawsuit to be banned, negotiating his contract. Right to the Bucks. Just like them in the next 72 NBA draft, the Hawks signed Dr. J to a contract worth more than $1,250,000 signing bonus. In the summer of the next 72, Erving was involved in entanglement with 3 professional franchises, 2 different professional basketball leagues, which would never happen again. Erving was playing for the Hawks while the Hawks were being fined by the NBA each game. The NBA was trying to assert its rights that belonged to the Bucks. On October 2nd, 1972, Judge ordered an injunction that prohibited Erving from playing for any other team than the Squires. He played one more season for the Squires, averaged a career best, played 1.9 points per game. Before being sold to the New York Knicks, the ABA in 1973, received eventually the next 76 of Philadelphia with the NBA ABA merger in 1976. Although one could surmise if Erving had complete autonomy, he may have preferred to play alongside Pete Maravich on the Hawks, because the Bucks technically had his rights in a more official, recognized ways. Let's imagine if he joined the all-time great Bucks team at peak, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Oscar Robertson in 1972. Bucks would have had a top 5 player in NBA history at that point. His 12 years of Robertson, the very best players in the world in the 1970s. 2 guys who had a big part of revolutionizing and ushering an era of modern basketball, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Julius Erving. They may have formed the most dominant dynasty in the NBA history in that era. And as Kareem breaks his hand, he missed the first 16 games of the 1974-75 season. He come back. Robinson's last 59 wins Bucks. They lost in 74, probably beats the Celtics in 5 or 6 games and win the 3rd NBA title in 4 seasons. Probably beat the Warriors, 73, Lakers with Wilt and West at the very end of their careers. And the Knicks team that wasn't as good as the next 7 version and brought to the 1973 NBA title. So they could have won 3 out of 4 titles if they had Dr. J on Oscar Robertson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on the same team. They probably win 50, maybe 50, 60 wins again. The Warriors, Wes Unseld, Elvin Hayes, the Bullets and those teams probably will still be no match for Kareem and Dr. J as they win their 3rd straight title in the 70s, first half of the 70s, and their 4th championship. Sports Illustrated calls Kareem and the Doctor the best duo in professional sports history. Milwaukee is the center of the professional sports world, or universe, rather. Let's say the Bucks trade Kareem to the Knicks for Earl Monroe. Bill Bradley, Phil Jackson, 1966 first-round pick, leaves the Bucks with the core of Julius Erving, Earl Monroe, Bobby Dangerous, Bill Bradley, Phil Jackson, and Jim Price. He thinks, the person that wrote this book, Bucks lose to the Celtics in the 1976 NBA Finals. Julius Erving wins another NBA MVP, as he did in the ABA in real life. Bucks probably would have purchased the rights to 72, 240-pound center Artis Gilmore from the Kentucky Konos of the NBA after they folded and was bought out by the Chicago Bulls. in reality. So with Dr. J, Gilmore, Dangerous, and Monroe, the Bucks won another title in the NBA in the 1976-77 season, beating Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and the less talented Knicks team in the 1977 NBA Finals. Dr. J would win his first NBA Finals MVP, officially being seen as the greatest player in the world after beating Kareem head-to-head on the game's greatest stage. The Bucks probably be able to win one more title in the NBA in the 70s with Dr. J, Gilmore, and Dangerous. Monroe was winding down by the end of the 70s before having to retool a much more competitive era in the 1980s with a new crop of NBA stars. If Dr. J spends his entire career in Milwaukee, he likely contends, but never wins another NBA title in the 1980s. Kareem possibly has a championship contender built around him in New York. So here's the Milwaukee Bucks alternate universe outcome and possibilities. Number one, Kareem, Julius Erving, and Oscar Robertson maybe create the most dominant teams in NBA history in 1973 and 1774. Number two, Kareem wins 4 NBA championships with the Bucks instead of 1 being before traded in 1975. 3, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is traded to the Knicks in 1975 instead of the Lakers. 4, Julius Erving wins 5 NBA championships as a Buck in the 1970s, 2 NBA MVPs, and number 2 NBA Finals MVP awards. Number 5, Oscar Robertson retires with 3 NBA championships instead of 1. 6, the Bucks win 6 NBA titles in the 70s, are the most successful franchise of the decade, a decade that currently stands as having the most parity in NBA history. Number 7, Kareem and Magic never team up with the Lakers. Team up on the Lakers, 1982-83 76ers team with Dr. J most alone never happens because Dr. J never joins the 76ers in 1976. 9, Rick Barry, Bill Walton, and possibly Evan Hayes never win an NBA championship in the 1970s. And finally, number 10, Dr. J never joins the New York Nets of the ABA in 1973. The league possibly folds and never is able to emerge with the NBA. Meanwhile, it means that the Spurs, Pacers, and Nuggets and the Nets are defunct in the 70s, possibly. So that's the what if. What if Julius Erving joined the Bucks in 1972? Right, so tomorrow being talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves, their franchise, how they got started and all that. Do the what if. Talk about the what if. What if the Timberwolves drafted Shaq in 1992? Huh. Inside tomorrow. What if Shaq was drafted by the Minnesota Timberwolves in 1992? That's an interesting question. What if instead of Atlanta Magic? So that's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the content. Again, I'll be in chapter 28, name dropping, reading from chapter 5, verse 33 to 37. Get into that. Name dropping, 28, chapter of Sermon on the Mount, greatest teachings of Jesus. From chapter 5, verse 33 to 37. 33 to 37, name dropping. And talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Ultimate History, NBA History, and What If book, volume 2. Till then, talk to you tomorrow.